15 animals who thank their rescuers in the sweetest way. There are many people that think humans are the only creatures that can feel deep emotions, and that makes us superior to other animals. But the animals you'll see today prove that you don't have to be human to be grateful. When Abigail the kangaroo was rescued and brought to the Alice Springs Reserve in Australia, she was only 5 months old. Because the staff at the reserve has taken such good care of her, Abigail has made it her mission to give hugs of gratitude. She seems to be starting a trend because other kangaroos, even the little ones, have begun giving hugs too. During a storm in Texas, Duke and his owner were trapped in floodwaters. As his owner struggled to hold the dog, he called 911. Luckily, the firefighters found them and brought them to safety. As soon as Duke hit dry land, he ran towards the firefighter who saved him. He then showed his gratitude by jumping on him and giving him kisses. This adorable squirrel was found after being attacked by an owl. Since she was wounded, the family took her in to nurse her back to health. They named her Bella. The family kept Bella for 5 months while she was recovering. Even though Bella was released back into the wild, she stopped by every single day for the past 8 years. While Richard Weiss, an explorer, was visiting a UK swanery, he noticed a swan stuck in a fence. After he freed the bird, Richard brought it to the sanctuary for treatment. They met again several years later, but the swan didn't forget. The swan wrapped his neck around Richard's and gave him a nice swan hug. Arikas Plukas, a farmer from Lithuania, was outside one day when he found a baby moose standing by his barn. Arikas realized that the moose was orphaned, so he decided he would raise her until she was old enough to join another moose. Once she was ready, Emma returned to the forest, but she still visits Plukas every day. A compassionate family in Norway saved this wild deer, who roamed near their home to avoid being killed by hunters. The deer was so grateful that he visits the family twice a year. After he patiently awaits outside the window for everyone to wake up, the family gives him some delicious bread for a treat. Gigi, a great horned owl, was taken to the Wild at Heart Rescue in Mississippi after she was hit by a car. Doug Pajecki was responsible for nursing Gigi back to health. When Doug needed to leave for a trip, Gigi was kept under close supervision. When he returned, Gigi said hello by wrapping her wings around him and resting her head on his shoulder. Imgur user Ams Coley came home one stormy night to find 3 baby deer had snuck into her house through the back door, which was left unlocked. Since they looked so comfortable, curled up in the living room floor, she let them wait out the storm inside. A few days later, the deer stopped by to give their thanks. After this dog got hurt, his family took him to the vet to be treated. Since the dog was in so much pain and they didn't want him to be afraid, the vet and his staff were very careful and gentle. When he was no longer in pain, the dog showed the vet how grateful he was. Nora was abused by her owners to the point that she became afraid of all humans. She was brought to a shelter where she was eventually adopted by a family that was willing to work with her issues. It was surprising when they realized that the one who would help Nora was their infant son, Archie. Nora trusted him, and now the two are inseparable. When a group of soldiers from Brazil found a young, injured jaguar, they decided to take him in. Even though they were able to nurse him back to health, he was now unable to survive in the wild. Luckily, the local government said they could keep him. The soldiers named him Jakitaya, and as hard as it is to believe, he's gentle with them. A 2-month-old cat named Rada Manessa had respiratory inflammation, and she was brought into the vet. The clinic staff noticed that while he was in recovery, he was very caring and gentle with other patients. They decided they wanted him to stay, so they put him to work soothing other animals. A kitten got stuck inside the engine of a minivan. John Passarella, a police officer, crawled under the car and put his arms around some belts so he could grab onto the cat and pull him out. Officer Passarella wasn't going to leave him homeless, so he named him Pazzy and found him a home with another officer. When Jake was a puppy, he was trapped inside a burning barn. Luckily, Jake was rescued but was burned on 75% of his body. After he was admitted for treatment, his owners never went back to get him. As soon as William Linder, the firefighter who saved him, found out, he decided to bring him home. Jake is now an honorary firefighter and even has a badge. When a man was walking down the street in Karachi, Pakistan, he crossed paths with a dog wearing a long-sleeved shirt. Like most people, he was curious, so he approached the dog. When the dog heard someone yell, "Jagu," he took off running. Apparently, a homeless boy who thought the dog was cold gave him the shirt. Now, Jagu follows the boy everywhere.